A very warm welcome back to your latest industry developments, 737 MAX news, aircraft groundings, and a new order coming. Want to begin with Wizz Air, who have published their full year results and provided updates on the continued evolving situation surrounding the grounding of its aircraft. The budget European carrier's challenges with keeping its fleet of next-generation Airbus planes active has been a talking point for several months now. At the beginning of 2025, following confirmation that groundings would continue this year, it shared a more negative outlook, expecting that planes would remain parked for at least the next 4 to 5 years. Based on this estimate, while Wizz Air believed the situation would improve, jets would be grounded until at least the 2029-2030 timeframe. These groundings have all been driven by the continued struggles with the Pratt & Whitney geared turbofan engines, also more commonly referred to as the GTFs. These engines are present across several aircraft types, but most notably for Wizz Air, it's their usage of the A320neo family, which has directly affected them. Given the importance of the new engine options, it's been hard to ignore. It's not like it's affecting planes that were all ready to be retired, it's affecting the planes that are meant to be there for the next 20 plus years. In the airline's latest filing, it actually confirmed that the percentage overall of aircraft on the ground relative to the total fleet is showing signs of improvement, but this doesn't mean it's clear of the struggles yet. In terms of data, it says that 42 planes were on the ground at the end of F25, 37 as of 9th of May, and they expect 34 will be grounded by the end of the first half 2026. While the number of planes on the ground remains significant, Wizz Air has been able to see visible improvements in other key areas, which has helped to mitigate some of the stresses it would have faced. For example, it has received delivery of 26 new Airbus A321neo jets, alongside the delivery of 14 spare GTF engines during the year, in a bid to mitigate the impact on the grounded planes and still offer as best as it can reliable capacity. Moreover, in an era where Airbus continues to broadcast the delivery delays surrounding its new commercial airplane, while Wizz Air has weighed in on what it's seeing. The budget carrier says that while its delivery schedule has been amended and the fleet is forecasted to grow, its delivery rates have been improving, which has been very encouraging. ASK capacity has also grown back. Wizz Air is pleased with this, and it's only been possible thanks to the increased delivery volume. So while challenges will remain and must be navigated and planes are going to be on the ground, Wizz Air has been noticing other improvements to mitigate the impact and to ensure that it's not all doom and gloom. So while planes are on the ground and it wants this solved, if it can make other important steps away from these groundings, which includes the delivery of new planes, that is a pro. And hopefully when those grounded planes eventually return to service, it'll be a big deal. On to the next story, and the Federal Aviation Administration has confirmed it'll continue to impose restrictions on Boeing concerning production. The FAA initially imposed restrictions on the output rates for Boeing and its commercial airplanes, including the 737 MAX and notably this type, at the beginning of 2024. A decision such as this was driven by several incidents, primarily spurred by a door blowout that occurred aboard a 737 MAX jet, and ultimately that door blowout, while would be an isolated incident in terms of what actually happened, it would reveal further inconsistencies on newer planes. And driven by these findings, the FAA were then imposing the restrictions on the plane maker to slow production down and create a more reliable system and culture that would enable the eventual scaling back of production levels in a more sustainable manner. According to comments from the FAA's chief administrator, the cap on the 737 MAX will remain at 38 per month. This stance follows improvement from Boeing. However, just because that improvement is taking place doesn't mean that restrictions will be lifted with immediate effect in response to this. It was also further stated that no discussions were ongoing at this stage to alter the policy imposed by the governing regulator, despite Boeing's effort to reduce the cap on place and demonstrate its stability. The reality remains that Boeing is coming from a long way back, and it's attempting to instill new values that put greater focus on safety culture and overall quality. While these pillars arguably should have been part of the identity for several reasons already, they were disregarded. The FAA imposed the restrictions to get the company right and for good, so we don't continue to have this problem where every 6 months a new issue is found on an aircraft, causing its deliveries to be suspended, a fix to be implemented, and then 3 months later there's something else. The Air Current, a reputable trade publication, reported that Boeing is taking already steps to rebuild its production line and has for the first time in years finally reached 38 units produced in a month. Now, the milestone, while applauded internally, and must be recognised as progress, does not mean that the internal pressure that they all have needs to be reduced by any means. Boeing knows it must continue to right its wrongs and regain its position as an esteemed company, and one the public is actually proud of, something that may never come for many onlookers who have lost all confidence. Boeing can't really do anything about that, but it needs to make sure it's building safe aircraft for the people that fly on it, for its customers, and for so many more other parties. Over to the final story. Airbus is seeking to confirm a massive new aircraft order from China as part of an effort to expand its presence in the country, where, according to Bloomberg News, the deal could be up to 300 planes as Chinese operators look towards Airbus to power their future fleet. Despite 300 orders being labelled as the likely scenario, there has already been internal discussion that this could easily rise to upwards of 500, depending on the deals handed down and what can really be agreed upon. European leaders are expected to visit Beijing as part of a trade agreement, and as a result, discussions about the future of how air travel will be conducted will be at the forefront of the agenda. The nature of this deal is subject to numerous conditions and obviously ongoing discussions. China hasn't had it easy in terms of its relationship with several nations, especially some countries have become a really big focus. Yes, I'm looking towards the United States here. Trade tensions can impact the signing of really any deal, but what remains clear is that Chinese carriers are very much keen on expanding their backlog of new commercial aircraft, ranging from smaller to larger planes, and this is a genuine opportunity for Airbus to put its foot down, extending the backlog of not just its commercial aircraft series, but as other analysts have already kind of touched on, in terms of just political factors and getting an upper hand on their competitors. The importance placed on this contract, which would be signed with China for Airbus, is, like I said, it's more than just a sizable one. It has enormous ramifications moving forward. China has become a hotly contested location, and the need for new planes continues. While Airbus and Boeing typically compete head-to-head, smaller plane makers such as Embraer are also seeking to expand their market share globally. However, for Airbus, its biggest threat remains that of Comac. This Chinese manufacturer has vowed to rival the European plane maker and its counterparts, Boeing, by not only capturing the Chinese market, but trying to move ahead into Western markets. Comac believes it's well positioned with its offering because it can, say, put forward better terms to customers. People are going to agree and disagree, but Airbus has at least openly acknowledged that this plane maker is something it needs to remain wary of. So, to be able to get this deal, it doesn't mean that Comac won't still have a presence within China. In fact, that's really its only market at the moment. But what it will do is give Airbus that peace of mind that airlines are still interested in its overall product. Very much keen to hear your take on the stories featured in this video down below in the comments. Thank you very much for your support. Take care, be safe, and I'll see you tomorrow for your next recap.
And we'll fly.